Abundance is a gift we have inside, a fullness, a happiness and joy of infinite supply. We have infinite supply of everything there is within us. Perfect love, perfect life. This is John Harrigan, Qigong Master and founder of the website immortalnow.com. Life itself is perfect by nature, but we transform life by thinking who we are and what we need is outside of ourselves when it isn't. That chase for something else, for something new, for something more, is part of predation, hunting down and killing, getting what we think we need to sustain ourselves and live. And by killing something and consuming it, in order to give ourselves life, that doesn't work out for the creation or life form itself. And what we're suggesting with the secret to immortality is that life itself is perfect. You're perfect. I'm perfect. Everyone's perfect. But we transform the creation by our actions, by our thinking, by what we do. When we act out in harm to somebody else at any level, when literally almost all life forms are killing another life form to feed themselves, this is sort of life force turned inside out, and it simply doesn't work for anyone. You have a successive feature of birth and death, birth and death, and birth and death. With the secret to immortality, we're suggesting that life can evolve, life can grow, we can become more in every way that we need without suffering and death, without hardship, without disease. There really isn't a lesson to learn through suffering and hardship other than suffering, hardship, and death aren't necessary, aren't needed, and aren't really part of the overall design of creation. If you look at the world and history and science, and that's my background, science and history, life is always pushing to evolve no matter what. Life, our consciousness, greater consciousness, is evolving in a way, I suggest. It appears to be. And it will do that. And if the way it has to do it is with life killing life, things will still evolve that way, but let's not do it that way. It's not necessary. There's no requirement. There's no lesson to learn in suffering. Again, other than that, it's not a great idea. So we're looking towards the eternal, towards our eternal soul, towards our eternal being, towards the eternal nature of life itself, eternal consciousness. And that's where I'm taking you today in this podcast, in this Immortality Talk. I'm taking you through what I say to a mindfulness of your own eternal nature. And later in this talk, we'll go into a simple Qigong exercise that I often take you through to get a little closer to that core, the core of self, the core of our being. So let's go on here with a little instruction on infinite supply. And that's the name of this podcast, Infinite Supply. Who we are is an infinite supply. We are by nature the core of our being, a cornucopia, where we have everything to give, everything to be. But by not knowing that, not experiencing ourselves, we're in a constant panic to find ourselves somewhere else, in something else, in some other location, in some other world, in some other outfit, in a different place to eat. We're never satisfied because we're always chasing the next meal to feed ourselves, whatever that meal is going to be. It may be just a new movie, a new something. We're chasing for newness all the time. Biologically, human beings seek novel experiences. It calms us down. But we're looking for something that's actually inside ourselves. I suggest once you start to experience yourself, there's constant newness, continual newness. newness in the experience of self. When we experience ourselves, we're connected to everything that exists, an unending font of love, of newness, of becoming, of giving, of connecting, of belonging, a perfect bliss. And I think everybody senses this. Everybody senses there's more to be had in life. We want a better place to live. We want a better job. We want a better relationship. And all of this, I suggest, is simply we're looking for our soul. We need more. We're in a constant state of needing more. And when we reach outside of ourselves and look outside of ourselves, we're kind of creating a whole another universe to explore. And all we're really looking for is ourselves. So at some time, we have to stop creating new worlds to live in and new lifetimes, and just look gently, easily, kindly look into who we are and find that infinite, eternal being that is ourselves. Life itself is perfect, but we transform life by thinking who we are and what we need is outside of ourselves when it isn't. It's inside. It's who we are. The idea of abundance or infinite supply, the name of this podcast, is natural and appealing. Again, the idea of abundance, there is a lot written about abundance, a lot of books related to the idea that we can have this, we can get that, you can get that. And I want to kind of get you away from that idea of abundance. Anything you imagine, you can get anything. If you think about it, you can be, yeah, that's true. You have to think about a building before you design it. Then you have to design it. You have to think more and have architectural plans and a blueprint, sort of. Yeah, we have to think about something. If you want a career, you have to think about that career. You have to learn the career, whether it's in school or on the job. Yeah, you have to think about it. But with The Secret to Immortality, I want to kind of get you away from the idea. I want to get you kind of away from maybe a supernatural idea of abundance, getting more. I can get more if I do this and that. Nah, the abundance is in you as you. And that may be a little disappointing if you don't understand what I'm saying. The infinite font of everything you'll ever want and need is within you as yourself, as we are connected to all that is and everything else. So it's a different take. It's a different spin on abundance. I'm not saying, hey, you can get anything you want in the world, or you can have anything you like. You just have to think about it and do this and do that. No, everything there is in the world, everything there is to like, infinite happiness, bliss, becoming, and abundance is in ourselves as who we are, as we're connected to ourselves, as we're part of the world and connected to all of that world and more. So the idea of abundance is natural and appealing to everyone. We all sense there is something true about infinite supply, the proverbial cornucopia. So we're all looking for something outside of ourselves, and scientists are looking for this something outside of themselves. And scientific inquiry, and that's my background, is doing a very good job. Eventually, science will discover everything I'm talking about and even more than The Secret to Immortality, but it'll take some time, and you may not live long enough, and you may want to have a better life before that happens. So the idea of abundance is natural and appealing to everyone. Everybody senses it. I think, there is a video, you may have watched The Secret, and then they have The Secret book, and, the idea that thoughts are things, and certainly they are. That's the first part of the 3 parts to The Secret to Immortality is mindfulness for immortality, where we become aware, and that's what we're doing now, of how we think, speak, and act, where we become aware of how that's creating our life, creating our world, creating this physical reality. So let's change what we're thinking right now and change our inner dialogue and change our behavior. Even within this podcast, change the way you're sitting. Change the way you're holding yourself up to agree and be in alignment with this idea of abundance that is inside you as your soul, your perfect bliss, not you alone. I would suggest to you there is no such thing as you alone. Alone we die. Just think of your body. Our body is composed of cells, of organelles, which are inside cells, of molecules, of atoms. We are a collective being, our consciousness. We need oxygen, and we give out carbon dioxide, breathing in and breathing out. And we'll do that a little later in this podcast, a little exercise. But the idea of abundance is natural to me. It should be natural to you. We want abundance. We want more. We need more. And it's appealing to everyone. We all sense there is something true about the idea of infinite supply. It's like there may not be infinite supply, but is there anyone in the world who doesn't want infinite supply of something? Whether it's happiness or materiality or the proverbial cornucopia, it's that kind of horn device that has fruit and goodness coming out of it. Who we are is the infinite supply. The infinite supply is here. It is real. The fountain of youth is real too. It's the same thing inside all of us. Who we are is the infinite supply, the font of unending good. The font of unending good is who we are. That's what we are inside. Unending good, infinite supply, an unending gift. That's who we are to ourselves, each other, and the world. As we find ourselves, as we do a bit of Qigong with the secret to immortality, as we practice mindfulness for immortality, as we do some Qigong coaching with an elder farther upon this path, we find ourselves, we experience our infinite being, our infinite soul, where there is infinite supply of everything, of who we are. The font of unending good. That's us. That's what we find with the secret to immortality. That's what we are inside. Infinite supply, the font of unending good. An unending gift is who we are, is all of life. Yet we need to have a way to find ourselves and get to this place I'm talking about right now. It's like, okay, that's a good idea. And if you like the idea and you buy into that, that's part of mindfulness for immortality. But how do we really get there? An idea is great, but it's just the beginning, or it's just one part. How do we get there? How do we know and experience this infinite soul? We get there by simply wanting to. That's the first step. Do you want to experience your eternal soul, yourself in the flesh physically as who you are? Do you want the secret to immortality? Do you buy into the idea that suffering, hardship, and pain aren't really necessary for life, and in fact aren't the nature of life at all? It's just what we do with life. I suggest life is pure, infinite, and good, but by our decisions that are a bit wrong, cruel, and brutal, we go to war, we hunt down and kill, we act unkind to our families and our neighbors. We take the beautiful pureness of life and twist it and contort it to our own means. And so part of what I'm suggesting or teaching now is that you kind of untie your contortions, the way you've been hurt and twisted, and we become more mindful looking at how we're thinking, at how we're behaving and speaking. Are we really acting with kindness and purity throughout the day? It sounds impossible. It's not, but it's very tough at first. And even for me at times, because I'm hardwired as a human, I'm fully human. And as humans, we have evolved, we have transformed ourselves into predators, where we are designed to hunt and kill. We are designed to fight and to get irritated, to get what we want and to exclude others, to defend territory and fight for it. All that's going on inside of the nicest people in the world. And the secret to immortality successively takes us layer by layer towards that infinite, perfect, beautiful, loving soul that we are, that loving physical person. So we're less harmful. We're more aware. Simply being quiet and not saying anything, that's helpful, but that's not really the answer. The answer is when we do speak with kindness. When we are silent, make sure that silence is appropriate, good, and caring. Even silence is a behavior. How are you silent with your loved ones? How are you silent at the office and in life? Even silence can be harmful. But it is successive awareness, and I'm still working on that myself. I've been working on it for a lifetime and perhaps many before this, but I'm still working on it and getting to that eternal place and helping you do it too. Who we are is the infinite supply that we all seek and want. Materiality, people being greedy or very materialistic, nothing wrong with that. That's just a natural human direction of people trying to find their soul. So they're trying to find it through greed, and maybe people find it through war, through fighting, find it in pursuing material goods. But I suggest that's probably not the way to find your eternal self. It may be eventually, but we want to do this in this lifetime if we can, or we want to make progress if we can. Who we are is the infinite supply, the font of unending good. That's what we are inside, an unending gift to ourselves, each other, and the world. What we are inside is an unending gift to ourselves, each other, and the world. So how do we get to this wonderful place? You just keep listening to my podcast again and again. We have free Qigong exercises on the website, immortalnow.com. We have a book you can buy. We have a highly recommended Introduction to Immortality course, about 3 decades in the making. That's available on our website. We also have a membership called Immortality Lab. It's a membership, Immortality Lab, a monthly membership where every week we have a brand new lecture and a brand new Qigong lesson. Qigong is a large part of my work, a large part of the path toward immortality that I've learned and I have to share with you. I have a Qigong master from Beijing, China, that I've been studying with and practicing with for over 23 years. And his lineage, his immortality comes to me, and that comes to you. We're all related, we're all connected, and we're all in this together, doing this together. With that in mind, Qigong, a gentle moving meditation, or you don't have to move at all, and I'll take you into a little Qigong that I try to introduce in most of my meditations and most of my lectures. So let's finish up here with a simple Qigong exercise. You would sit on a seat, sit on a chair if you can, your legs not crossed, they're flat on the floor. You close your eyes and imagine you can see out your eyes to the tip of your nose. From the tip of your nose, imagine you can see a ruby red arc going out about 3 to 4 inches from that tip of your nose and curving in towards your heart. And just hold that visualization for a bit. Eyes to nose, your eyelids are shut. Don't stress, don't strain, but imagine you can see through your eyelids to the tip of your nose. A ruby red arc going out about 3 to 4 inches coming into your heart. Eyes to nose, nose to heart, and a ruby red arc. Just hold that beautiful vision. Eyes to nose, nose to heart, and a ruby red arc. You don't have to see the vision perfectly. You don't have to be able to vision it at all. Just know that's what's happening. Eyes to nose, nose to heart, and a ruby red arc. After you've held that for a while, and your hands, this entire time, your hands are flat, palms down, on your thighs, up near your knees. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to have the perfect position. Maybe you can't be in a chair. Maybe for some reason your feet can't be flat on the floor. Just mentally, visually go through the exercise. It'll work just fine. Your eyes can be open. You can be at work and just need to calm down. This exercise will do it. Eyes to nose, nose to heart, feet to ground. Let your attention now fall down your body to your feet. Feel and experience your feet rooted deeply into the earth, about 10 to 15 feet, like the roots of a tree. Eyes to nose, nose to heart, in a ruby red arc. Feet to ground, rooted about 10 to 15 feet. And again, it's not exactly, if you don't like a tree and the tree's roots, just imagine yourself rooted into the earth. There's no perfection involved. In fact, our mind really isn't involved much in any of these Qigong exercises. This is a simple Qigong exercise. You can do this at any time in any place. You can do it throughout the day again and again when you need to get grounded, when you need to get connected. Eyes to nose, nose to heart. Eyes to nose, nose to heart in a beautiful way, in a grounded way, feet to ground. At ease, relaxed. Observe your breath. Don't control it. Breathe through your nose, in and out through your nose, not your mouth. Don't control a thing. This is all about kind of letting go and relaxing. Eyes to nose, nose to heart in a ruby red arc. Forgiveness, love, and joy. Eyes to nose, nose to heart in a ruby red arc. You're letting go of stress and pain, of injury and harm. You're letting go of everything bad that's happened to you, that you have ever done and that has ever been done to you. Eyes to nose, nose to heart in a ruby red arc, feet to ground, flat on the ground. We're connected to the earth. We're part of this world. We're in our beautiful body, perfect and good, immortal and kind, infinite soul, eternal. Eternal is probably a better word to describe that. You might say infinite soul, but infinite can kind of create the idea of like way wide open space, and that isn't it. We're right here, right now, eternal. Timeless. I would say, I'll use the word infinite from time to time, but it's really eternal and timeless. The eternal self, the timeless self, the now. You know, we have some great authors and throughout all time, spiritual people and philosophers have talked about the importance of now, even in psychology. Everything does take place now. Always. You know, we're right now, as you're listening to me, it's now. Every moment of your life will be now. Now is when we have the power to change, the power to become who we are right now. The eternal now. The name of our website is immortalnow.com. That name is there for a reason. I think you've figured it out by now. Immortal Now. And we teach the secret to immortality. Eyes to nose, nose to heart, and a ruby red arc, feet to ground. And to finish, put your hands together like in prayer and move your hands around in a circular direction, creating friction with your palm and focusing chi, and just give your face a chi facial. But I'm giving this podcast in coronavirus time, so don't touch your face. Just put your hands maybe about an inch away from your face and imagine you're touching it. Because if there's a virus in the air, don't want to touch your eyes or your nose or your mouth. Love, kindness, joy, eternal good, bliss, happiness, ease, and comfort. That is the life I suggest we're all designed to live. That's what our bodies naturally want to do. Our bodies want to create a blissful, happy, kind, and wonderful experience for ourselves. Our physical bodies and who we are in these bodies can be, and I suggest is made to be a happy, new, blissful, wonderful experience every millisecond of the day. You can have that. I can have that. I promise you, you'll get there if you aren't there already. That's the end of this weekly Immortality Talk on the podcast. The podcast is called The Secret to Immortality Podcast. The website again is immortalnow.com, and go to the website. You'll find blog articles, and you'll find links to the podcast there. You'll find our book, Qigong and Spiritual Growth. You'll find our course, and you'll find Immortality Lab. You'll find free videos, a free Qigong video, 5-organ breathing. You can begin today, and you'll find information about Qigong explaining exactly what it is. Again, at our website, immortalnow.com, we teach the secret to immortality. And the secret to immortality is comprised of 3 parts. Part number 1, mindfulness for immortality. Part 2, Qigong for lasting life. And Part 3, immortality coaching. And you can learn all about that on this podcast, day by day and week by week, but also and in much more depth at our website, immortalnow.com. Bless you and keep you. That's the end of this podcast episode.